Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the Hylo Redesign Collabothon Synthesis Session number X out of Y. Um, Today we will be talking about what came out of our discoverability session, basically how people discover Hylo and discover content in Hylo, and probably, hopefully, getting into notifications in a deeper way. And if we have more time after that, maybe we'll get into actually prioritizing all the stuff we've been talking about.
Perfect. Amazing.
So we are going to be working out of this header in our Hylo redesign strategy doc, the discoverability one. This is kind of what we pulled out of our session on that. And we just wanted to do another pass through it and a deeper dive and see what we think about all this stuff, how important it is. Starting with receiving recommendations for groups to join. So this is, organized by kind of our hypotheses. That when people join Hylo, if they get recommended, a lot of people come to us and are like, I want to find some groups to get involved in. So how do we do that better? We think that would increase engagement and retention. So we have people who sign up should be shown suggested groups to join based on relevant skills, interests, and location. I guess my question about that one is how, like what type of algorithm would we use? I mean, it could be very simple, just sort by location, match. I mean, skills and interests, like we don't currently have group tags, categories, which I actually think maybe is something that should be in here because I think that will be a huge boon to our group explorer in general. And that would make it easier to match on skills and interests. But yeah, are there other ideas for how we might do this kind of suggestion? And the other ideas, maybe just AI, like give all of our group descriptions to AI and the person's profile and let it do its magic.
Right, totally. Like process over the descriptions, pick out keywords, save them in like an index, and then
there's the keyword search, which we should do to make these suggestions.
Yeah, but we don't want to do a search like that every time because that'd be a really expensive search.
Well, if people request it, I think this is one of those moments that's worth paying for. I don't know.
I just mean expensive in terms of it would take a long time.
Well, there's ways to compress that information to make it indexable.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. I said there should be an index.
Exactly. That's what I'm affirming what you're saying.
Okay.
And then I was 100% affirming this idea, and also 100% affirming vector search, which we can do. It's adjacent to AI, but we don't need AI to do it. What we need to do is basically every time a post happens in a group, we create a vector of that post, and it's saved as part of the group's vector. And then you compare that to the groups that somebody's in or to their skills and interests. Another easy way to like match vectors is for somebody to share like their LinkedIn profile or their Facebook profile or their Twitter profile. And you can build a shape of the person pretty quickly and match it to other shapes. And, this is pretty new technology. So I'm not even sure if Facebook is doing this yet. I'm pretty sure they're not. For many reasons, but
I think one thing I would want to do there is to make sure people consent to that.
Yeah. It would have to be opt-in. would have to be like a special thing called like Hylo match or something
You wanna watch
that you opt into.
Yeah.
It's too scary and switch to a different one.
But otherwise we should do keyword and like I've been collecting UI flows for that just onboarding process of supplying keywords basically. So that you can populate the person's algorithm for the first moment that they're in the app. There's definitely ways to do it that are fun and engaging, but it's always annoying. And like it's in somewhat in tension with the value of wanting people to have a very expedient onboarding process. Like all I need to do is confirm my phone number, really. That's one goal and desire, making it very easy and seamless and frictionless. Then the competing tension is this. It's like getting people actually meaningful recommendations means knowing something about them. And that,
Yeah. So what I could say about this is that it probably wouldn't happen like the very first time people log in, because the first time people log in, we're trying to streamline that and only ask a few questions. We talked about this in onboarding last time, that we wanted to only ask for a name and password, basically, and that we didn't need to ask for location right away. We don't need to ask for an image right away. But what we do need to do is the next time they log in, ask for the next set of things, which maybe is photo, maybe is location, maybe is skills and interests. And then either right after that or in the next session, then we can present recommendations. So this particular thing that we're considering, this isn't possible right now. We would need to set up the preconditions as a first step and decide when we want to be asking for skills, interests, and location.
Well, it makes me think that something like a Hylo match as a section of Hylo makes sense, because if we're going to present recommendations, we're going to do that somewhere. Either it's a pop-up, but you want to be able to find those again.
Yes.
So it implies to me that there's going to be some sort of new explore type section that is, and if that's the case,
Possibly, or it's a popover.
yeah, but if you close it, how do you get back to it?
Yeah, okay. Point. My home has recommendations.
Yeah. Okay. So the first time you click on that could be an opportunity to request the information necessary to make a recommendation.
Yeah.
This could also, I mean, the feature right below this is about every time someone logs in, they could be presented with recommendations. I do think there's a lot to be said for over time pinging people with like, hey, you might be interested in this group. And that could be an email, it could be a notification. As obviously some people might not want that and they could unsubscribe from that feature, but certainly something to try.
Right.
Hey, you got good pasta.
Excuse me. I'm on mute. Say something to Ben.
Oh. I just want to take a note on sending recommendations. But yeah, this kind of all connects to or plays into the next feature, which is recommending content, which could be content or groups when people come back to Hylo.
Yeah.
Which is sort of like, I mean, if it's just content and we're getting into this sort of stream algorithm idea, although if we're not going to necessarily be prioritizing a stream view anymore.
No, we just need to be transparent. I mean, there should be a stream view for the public.
Yeah,
People should be able to like look at this public stream. And we should be thinking about making it easy for them to see what they want, but explain what that means. Like if we're waiting, like, what information is being used to show you this feed? And do you want to just order this by recency or by number of emoji responses or by the algorithm, and explain how the algorithm works?
right. Like people will still have sovereignty over what algorithm is sorting the stream.
Yeah.
We're not gonna just like inflict this on people and not give them any options.
Totally. And I actually think that it would be better if it's not changing the stream algorithm, but there's either separate little boxes that are like recommendations that appear, or it's in a totally different area. Like maybe it's even in your notifications inbox.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And again, some things people can tune in their settings.
Yeah.
And all the same questions here about how we actually do that, those recommendations come up.
Yeah. We might not be quite ready for it in this go around, but it's definitely something for us to be thinking about.
Yeah, I agree. It feels a little bit like lower priority next phase.
Yeah, but I think the next bullet point here is maybe a little bit higher priority. So let's get into that. So this is about making it easier for people to discover relevant content and groups in a different way from recommendations. Just like in a basic UI kind of way. So there's a number of things in here, some of which have already been covered, like group stewards, being able to pin subgroups in the group nav. I believe we had that already.
Yeah, we have a plan.
In fit to purpose.
Part of just the group nav redesign.
Yeah. And add subgroups. Cool. So I'm going to remove that item from right here because it has been previously covered. Okay, so improved search UI UX.
That not been covered elsewhere as well?
I don't think so.
I mean, it's like core and usability.
It does feel like basic usability.
Yep.
And yet,
I mean, I have visions. Rich search, folks. Rich search.
Yeah, we can just talk about it for a sec, but then I'll move it up to usability.
Yep.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think everything should appear as you're typing it. You shouldn't go to a separate page.
As
And
you're typing it.
yeah, well, so like if you press on the interface,
You want to show your screen?
let's say, what should I show?
The current search interface. Not on Figma,
Okay.
in Hylo.
I mean, I'm imagining you're talking a little bit about how like Slack or
Exactly.
which
Like, are we talking about the search within the stream?
Well, okay, so there's a search up here, right?
Which, yeah, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, let me go here.
I just think the context would be really helpful.
Let's do this. Let's dive into the context.
Great.
Let's swim
Love that.
in a shared context of understanding. Okay, so up here we have a set of icons. First of all, I like the pattern of search kind of being in here at this resolution. But anyway, whether it's there or here, should just kind of like stay here, and I click on this, it should become the search somehow.
Right,
And
yeah,
immediately I can start typing. I'm not in some other place. And when I start typing things here, let's say Tibet. Each thing should be a smaller, much smaller card
okay,
that just contains the basic information of the results,
yeah,
and perhaps highlighting the relevant keyword.
yeah,
That's level one. Um, and I can like there all of this stuff should be under like a little icon that's right here,
yeah, but also just like this,
or maybe under here.
this result is not high quality. These are very old posts.
Right.
They're not Tibet's most commented on posts. They're not the most recent
Right,
ones. It's not even like I would expect to show like the highest quality result would be like Tibet's profile.
Right. If there's a person named Tibet
Yeah,
that I'm in a group with, that should show up first.
right. So I think just looking under the hood at the whole search
Right.
Yeah.
mechanism is something that needs to
Wow.
happen.
A lot to do there.
Yeah. And if you can't find something that you're also invited to create it. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but like, yeah, create a new post with this, no more results found, create something.
Mhm.
But seeing what other feedback loops that the search goal can be engaged with.
Yeah. Cool. How do you feel about search inside the stream? Because there's another search
Right. I don't know.
types and stuff.
I don't know. Tibet. See what happens.
I think that might just search the content.
Well, I think I would assume that this is broken at this point. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
here we go.
All right, so
Everything Tibet has ever commented on or said or liked.
yeah, we
Right.
also kind of need to do a better job of highlighting what part of it matched the search.
Right.
Yeah. Highlight
You got-
the matching term. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for coming to my TED
Well,
Talk.
don't stop sharing
Okay.
because next I want to talk about the Group Explorer. So this is a huge thing for me. Like the Group Explorer is really hard to find and no one knows that it exists. And this is not it.
No?
This is not the Group
Oh,
Explorer.
you mean this
I
Group
mean
Explorer.
that. Yes. So like it's just so buried.
Buried, yeah. Well, I mean, it is right on the top menu. But yes, I agree. You don't really know about this menu unless you get the second group.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know if I'd say it was buried, but I think we should tell people it exists when you first log in or something, or in an email, in the welcome email.
Yes, which we do. In what I drafted.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely help by telling people about it. And this is a thing where the search algorithm here is also pretty broken. Like, can you search for something? Like,
Let's
I
see.
don't know, bio region. Oh, sure. I mean, that seems pretty good, but I've definitely had trouble with the search in this. Like, if you search like Hylo or something, there was something I was searching and the like direct match was not the first result.
That's funny.
Right, like that's a good example. And it'd be really cool if
It's cool, but a little. Oh, I see. I see. Here we go.
I mean, that looks great. It looks like a good group. And then the options for sorting, we have group name, Can you look at those? Sort by group name, member count. It has been suggested that most active would be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the name
The-
match needs to be better, or the keyword match, and then it maybe could just automatically be sorted by most active or most populous as a default.
For groups that are growing right now is another one that might be interesting.
Yeah.
Groups that have accepted more than 10 people in the past 24 hours. Like how do you, so right now when you first show up here, it's just like a list. So if I name my group an emoji name, like I happen to name this group an emoji name.
Can you please
Sorry.
delete that?
Let's see here.
Delete it.
Well, hold on. Okay, fine.
Just make it not public.
So because I happen to be clever, yes, I do.
I don't want anyone else to get that idea looking at your
So,
heart
but anyway,
chicken stick.
because I happen to do that, I happen to be first. How do we show other ways of showing what's first and highlighting groups that may have certain characteristics that we want to amplify?
Right.
Regardless of the match between interest and group, like
Totally.
how do
It's
we
like
highlight
even on
groups?
this page, we could have 3 recommendations at the
Exactly.
top.
Right. It could be a map of the world with a carousel of recommendations and then a list that's not sorted by alphabet. Why would we sort by alphabet?
Right.
Let's pick some other thing. Nearest makes the most
Yeah,
sense.
right.
Like,
And so if we have people's location,
yeah. And it would ask for your location right there.
right. Yeah, totally. And then save that. So that's like a really authentic time to be asking for people's location.
Right.
Or when they're looking at the map.
Right.
And then saving it. So
Yeah.
that definitely seems like some low-hanging fruit on that.
Boom. Done.
Can I add a thought here?
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you. This is related to your vector idea, or at least, you get some sort of sense what I'm interested in, and then go to the group explorer. And something that I really like and that I really loved seeing in Hylo too is the visualization of groups and within subgroups and all these things. And I wonder if there's a way to visualize the thematic overlap of groups as, there's 4 groups and around them is a bubble. And then there's another group, another 5 groups, and that bubble intersects with 2 other bubbles. And I know that these, and then the bubbles, maybe they're based on values or something that drives them.
Mhm.
If the group isn't very active, maybe it could fade away, or, some sort of way to engage with it that is not just a scroll. At least for me, that's something that helps a lot intuitively. I'm not sure on like a development perspective how complicated that is, but
I love
I guess
that.
it's stuff I'm currently interested in.
Right, like do it in a 3D space, a giant cloud of all the groups, and you can sort of like navigate it by a topic or something, like education or permaculture.
Right. Or like, yeah, what are they driven by? I'm not sure what groups really have to tell about themselves right now, like what are their core principles or values or something. But yeah, I think this could also be 2D, to keep it simple.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Mhm.
just a little idea.
That's super cool.
People
Love
would,
it.
Mm-hmm.
And once we have explicit, tags or categories for groups, that will also help. I think the combination of
totally.
having a few tags and some sort of, AI determination of the content themes
Yeah.
both be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And helping groups to form networks this way seems like a really interesting idea. Because it could be that you get categorized automatically into a specific topic. And that is like a way for community leaders in that topic to coordinate together or something, or all the groups join that topic, and so anybody in those groups gets to join that topic group or something. I don't know what the um, connection is, but I think there's something there.
I also like the idea or the metaphor of gardens and tending to different things in the garden that we want to see to grow. As in, I see 4 groups that are pouring water onto this plant of regenerative agriculture. And then there's another plant for healthcare, and that is also growing. And then you look at which groups are pouring water onto that plant, and it's those other 4 groups. There might be a 5th group, but they haven't been pouring recently because they've been inactive for a year or something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how high level that is compared to what you're able to do in the moment right now. But thanks for hearing my
Yeah.
thoughts.
This is a really cool idea. We're definitely gonna record it and synthesize more.
Yeah, we're still kind of in the end of this ideation brainstorm phase, and then we'll actually dig into what we're actually going to get done in the next 6 months. But
Yeah, my sense is just on its surface, it seems hard to do in the next 6 months, but exciting. And so we'll figure out if we can do it.
Okay, so there's a couple more items in this category. One thing actually I want to mention on the Explorer that is down in the next bullet point is that it should be visible to non-users. So it would be really, really cool if this page were public itself and anyone could look at it without being a current Hylo member.
Yeah.
Because people want to see like what groups are on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's something people have asked for, and it seems like it would help with growth.
Mm-hmm.
So something to think about.
it already is.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
I mean, it's even linked to the very top of our homepage.
So it is.
So it is. Great. It's like we already did a thing. I love when I can check things off of the to-do list. Great.
I'm gonna go ahead and thank our development
Amazing.
team.
Wow. Great.
And Tibet, you are just somebody did that. It wasn't me.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's great. Maybe I'll put that on our website.
It's on the website.
It's on the website. It's linked at the very top. Explore groups.
Huh.
A lot going on.
Yeah. Explore groups. Huh.
I do remember making that button and pointing to this page. Now that I'm thinking back,
That's great. And you can type and search.
we can type in search. Let's
see.
Type in generation.
Oh, great. Oh my gosh. Wow. We nailed it, you guys.
I did have someone complain that this doesn't work on their phone. Which looking at right now, it like centers the content at a certain resolution, and then the text gets cut off on the left and right.
Okay, so what we do need to do then is make this page responsive.
Oh, boy. It's always just like
Highlighting that.
that feeling where you're in a dream where you're walking around naked. Finding a bug like this is like that feeling. Like, oh,
Cool. Okay, so let's try to close out this section. There's a few more items that were in the bullet point on making it easier to discover relevant stuff. These ones are a little bit more futuristic, so perhaps just not really for this round of redesign, but doing some kind of, this is like the kind of like smart matching category. So doing automated introductions to people, between people, doing automated introductions based on matching skills and interests or things with similar content, requests and offers matching. And then being able to follow individuals.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on that is that, yeah, it might not be part of this current redesign, but that there's like a clear case for using AI on Hylo. And I think what I would want to recommend is just us creating that as a separate document and proposal and putting a price on it and then trying to raise for that separately. Because I think there's probably people out there that are into that.
well,
Yeah.
I do think that Nathaniel could build us a version of the vector matching for probably $5,000. So just something to think about. If
Okay.
something like that really does create some virtuous cycles, like if we can actually help introduce people
Mhm.
on a basis that is deeper than their social graph, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's a big deal.
Well, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm into that. Maybe there's like a way to test it without necessarily like building the interface at first, but just like
Yeah,
creating the backend
Yeah.
functionality and we can see like how good is it?
Mhm.
Like if we feed it one person's profile, can we get it to suggest really good suggestions for groups and people?
yeah. We need like 100 profiles, basically.
Yeah,
Another idea
yeah.
is, do you remember someone named Tommy Lorsch?
I
Yeah,
do remember that name.
he contributed to our crowdfunding campaign.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we talked back in like 2020 or yeah, early days. And he just raised 2.5 million to start an AI company about helping humans cooperate at scale.
Ah,
And we were going to chat about it soon. And I'm imagining that someone like that, like someone out there is going to want to use Hylo as a test case for their AI and pay and would pay for that.
Yeah.
So, we would want it to be values aligned and consentful but I think that there's other people that could build this for us and pay for it.
Yeah. Well, and the AI part of it is probably not even that intense for something like this.
Yeah.
Which, talking about this leads me to another thing I wanted to bring up, and I thought it was maybe today around discoverability. It's been hard for me to figure out where to place it, which is when I'm returning to a group I'm already a part of, being onboarded back into the group after not being there for a little while. Right now, we use bolding and highlighting and other ways to draw people's attention to pieces they missed or weren't there for. But this is a moment where we would show people something like who you should connect with is in this group, and I also think it's another moment where we could utilize AI to do something like summarize everything that happened in a channel in 4 sentences. And you get the invitation to jump back into the different channels after reading a brief synopsis of what happened. Yeah. And there's like some way to catch up really quickly when you've come back, like either you can skip catching up, go and like navigate the interface via the bolds and highlights, or it presents you pieces of content or summaries. You can swipe them, or I don't know. I don't know if this is making sense,
Yeah.
but that moment is really important, and we've heard for years, just like, how do I catch it? How do I know if I've caught up? How do I know if I've seen everything? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we can add that as a
Yeah. Cool.
We were talking about following, or were we going to talk about that today?
I don't think we need to talk about it today because it sounds like we're in coherence, that it's not the immediate next step.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I'm really drawn to it. I think it doesn't have to be architecturally hard. What?
it could be.
I think we should at least talk about it.
we did have a conversation about it the other day. I'm trying to remember if there's notes that were taken somewhere.
I just really like the idea of everyone starting out with their own community, and they can make that a public community where anyone can join it. And that's what following is. It's that.
But then I have to go and check another community. That's a burden.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't want to have to go and every day remember, like, oh, I'm going to go look at the Aryan community. I'm going to go look at the Tibet community. Like, I would like to just get one stream, you know?
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, I use my stream a lot.
Like all my groups.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't know if you navigate that way, but
Yeah, I don't usually look at that, but I should.
yeah, I just. Anyway, that is a great point.
There's also so many questions I have of like, is that a group that you are in charge of moderating? Can anyone post to it, or can only you post to it?
I think it's just a normal group. It's just like what Twitter has now, where certain profiles you can't follow them unless they let you, or you pay, or that's a group, you know.
But it's
They
not
just
like
followers.
anyone in that group can post to everyone else in that group.
That's true. You can't add followers. Right, it's not followers, it's more of a community. But people, the way Hylo's set up, if I star something inside of a group I'm a part of, I see it. So if I want more of what you have to say, I would star you or star some topic in your stream. Anyway, I think we could do it without much work. Same with recommending groups based on location, like setting up bi-regional groups. We could do it without a ton of work. And there'd be a rich landscape for people to explore.
Me, the questions are always come back to, again, governance, stewardship.
We're so close.
Who's doing that, and who gets the power? Technically, it's not that hard, but socially,
Yeah.
Those damn humans
Yes.
chatting.
It's something I want to explore further, but I'm not sure if it's the highest priority to spend time discussing right now.
yes.
I mean,
I'm just I'll go. Let's go to the next item.
We can, okay, great. So the last item, because we're so close to getting through the whole list, and then we can move on to
Yeah.
other
Okay.
things.
Okay.
The last thing in here is making it easier for non-users to view content.
100%.
Yeah. And
So
other people that are more into this can say more about what we mean.
um,
Yep. So I think I added this note somewhere. Maybe it's not in from the list. I view that the framing of that sentence as different from what I've specifically been petitioning for,
Okay.
which is to make it easier for non-users, and I'm doing quote marks here,
Yeah.
to be invited to content. It's
Invited
an
to
extension content.
Content.
To be invited to content.
Yeah.
which we talked about last time under onboarding, in like inviting people to, syncing with contacts, inviting people by phone and email, all of that.
Yeah, we touched on aspects of that, I think.
Well, why don't you share your vision right now, Tom? Because I'm vibing, but I'm not remembering exactly what it is.
Okay, so in essence, and this is also for me like linking back to recommendations. As I was listening into that conversation, but I didn't jump in with this. Where like when we were talking about recommendations, it's like we're trying to build a machine that helps people be recommended certain things. And for me, I think maybe like what I would focus on is like, can we make it easier for humans to recommend stuff for other people? Which is kind of like a distributed way of like getting that knowledge distributed. We building the platform to do that task is centralizing a lot of information and understanding, and it's really hard, like to do it really well. So maybe like the first thing for me would be like, if we can be better at, and again, this is the invitational mindset that have linked to with the sort of prior blog post. If we can make it easier for people to invite others to content across the platform, but also for them to be able to invite people outside of the platform to specific pieces of content, and that we are also better documenting that or tracking the journey of that invitation. Is it received? Is it looked at? Is it actioned? That would also be a great like underlying data set for us to understand the types of things that people are being invited to and how successful those invitations are. So it would be a sort of step towards building the overall a meaningful recommendation system. And then separate to that, we would be giving people the tools, and again, like as simple as it's really hard to run an event on Hylo right now because in part people have to go through the machinery of signing up to attend an event or to get the details for an event. And just that, essentially like Luma or Partiful, like as we've previously touched on, and certainly I have, just noting that. That would be the most obvious case, but I also think it would be awesome if Krisha could send out to her neighborhood a proposal and have anyone who's got a link to that to be able to chip in some way or to contribute to vote on that proposal, even if they're not ready intellectually or time wise to, or like they don't get the concept of like, is this worth it, my time to join to the whole Hylo ecosystem.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, thanks, Tom. I have a direct
Yeah.
response. In the fit to purpose section where we go through all the event modifications, this has already made it onto our list, which is that events in
Yeah.
particular, we want to be available for non-users to RSVP for. And so maybe that is like our first experiment with this idea. And that feels really high priority because we absolutely want events to be easier and for people not need to use Luma. And so maybe that's the experiment that we do in this realm as part of this redesign, and we see how it goes. And then once we have that infrastructure for one type of posts, we're going to have that infrastructure for other types of posts as well. So if we get to a point where people are wanting proposals to be able to be voted on by non-Hylo people, that would be easier to do in that future. So would that feel like a satisfying experiment here if we just focus on doing this with events?
Yeah, sure. And just to like one of the reasons why I'm making that distinction between like make it easier to view content from outside users is that like any outside user could view like it's a different if I'm a non-user and I'm invited by someone, it's implying an existing relationship. And that relationship is kind of the implicit to some degree a little bit of extra trust in that connection. Whereas like I just want to make sure that it's not like I'm suggesting anyone can come and comment on a random post anonymously, which would just open up the platform to all sorts of lame stuff.
Yeah.
The end. And yeah, events are the priority, I think. Absolutely. In many ways.
Can I offer a metaphor again? Because what you were talking about really resonated with me on some work that I've been done recently. I think I really like that Hylo has different pieces like resources, offers, needs, they're kind of containers for something. And I personally think of stuff that I share as marbles right now. It's like I have a marble and I want to pass, and this is the really important thing that I wrote down, and I want to give you this marble and you can put it in your own sack of marbles to continue to carry it around because it has proven really helpful to me. And maybe in like a similar notion, there can be resources that I can share with someone, and I can pass that marble of a resource to someone, and there could be some metaphorical or just simple way to share that with someone outside if you if you allow outside sharing on your resource post. And that way that ecosystem of pieces or offers or needs could grow. Like, okay, I see this need and I want to give it to a friend who's not part of Hylo right now. And to me, visualizing it in these ways is just really helpful and something that I've been really yearning for, especially running offers and needs markets and seeing like these massive lists of offers and needs, and like how can I work with them? And it could be cool to have some sort of way in Hylo to organize my offers, to organize my needs, to organize my marbles, because there's projects that people do and I want to kind of like keep them in a container. I saw on Hylo there was also a feature request for bookmarking discussion posts, which is a similar idea of like, I kind of want to have them in different sacks. And yeah, lists are like a nice way, but for me, it's really about that, that visualization of it and collecting marbles and giving them to people. Yeah, that's what resonated with Thomas's point for me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Love that.
I also heard in there making it easier to share public content with non-users.
Yeah.
So right now for events, you can invite people, but for other content types, there's not like a built-in button or way to invite people. You can tag people if they're on the platform. But what if we had a like share or invite button for any content and you could share it via email or phone? And if you're on a mobile device, you would pop up the share sheet.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I added this under making it easier for non-users to view content. Cool. Well, could we spend like 20 minutes talking about notifications?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so this is all the way back up under usability, under basic functionality. Oh, Krisha is waiting in the Zoom room.
Ooh, whoa. Okay. On the case.
Welcome, Krisha.
Welcome, Krisha. We figured it all out. We can retire.
Hey everyone.
Just to guide us people to where we are, here's a link to right above the notification section. We're about to go into notifications, Krisha.
Thank
So
you.
there's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of which we don't need to go too much into. I put at the top just to remind us that we have already agreed we want to do this, but it has not yet been done. But we've talked about changing the default for new users to be that they get a notification for every new post in their groups. So it's more like Slack and WhatsApp, and make sure that people see things and engage, can, more likely to engage right away instead of like seeing it the next day in the digest.
Mhm.
That's a small thing that we should do soon. We know we need to audit and make sure that all the notifications go to the correct content, especially on mobile, but auditing the emails, the push notifications, all that, that's super important. We've made some progress there, but there's still definitely some weirdness sometimes. We know we want to add browser and desktop app notifications through the browser and through our Electron app. That is mostly done, but needs the translation stuff done. The main thing I want to talk about is email digests. Well, actually, before we dive in, maybe just to go through the other pieces below this, just to name them all. So there's reviewing and improving the text of our notifications. We really need to do a pass on the copy. Also, what other notifications do we want to add? Maybe that's something we can discuss. Dialing in the settings, having notification settings per chat room. Yeah, but let's dive into the digests, because I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And right now, this is one of the main ways that people interact with Hylo, especially because we don't have the notification per post turned on by default.
Mhm.
And when people do have that turned on by default, it's going to be even, I think, more jarring than it is right now to re-get those posts in the daily digest if we also have the daily digest turned on by default. So some of the things that I've kind of brainstormed or we've talked about before, besides better styling, which we definitely need, like, do we want to not show content that you've created? So stop showing you your own posts. Do we want to not show content that you've already read? So you're not like double seeing things you've already interacted with. We could show things like upcoming events, really good place to be like tomorrow's events are, or this week's events are. We could show open requests and offers to remind people like, hey, this person still needs this thing or still requesting this thing.
Yes.
We've had requests to show full new comments. Like right now we show in a chat room or like in a post title, like this post has 5 comments. Do we want to show like one of the new comments to give more context? Do we want, I think we definitely want to not show events and other posts that are past. Like right now, sometimes the digest shows you an event that happened that morning and it's really confusing.
Yeah.
We already have listed don't show posts you've already seen or read. Probably want to get rid of the nav links at the top of the digest, which is confusing because they like jump around in the email.
Or it was space.
Yeah. And then I had this question mark of do we want to allow people to turn on a digest for all of their groups? So they get one email that shows all of their groups. Could end up being really long, but that's a question mark that I have. So I'd love to just kind of do a round of brainstorming on these things, but also other ideas for how to make those digests really, really useful and interesting.
Again, this is a
Thanks,
place.
Leon. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. Ciao.
This is another place where AI could really contribute a lot of value, is just summarizing blocks of activity. It's easy when only one thing has happened to show the one thing, but if it's just for instance, like there's an ongoing conversation in the general chat, and I get just one message of that in the daily digest, it doesn't make much sense. I don't get the additional context necessary to understand what's going on. And
Yep.
so for posts, it makes a lot of sense. But if we transition to a more chat centric experience, the conversations are where a lot of the meaning making is happening. And I wonder how to crystallize that for the daily digests.
Right. I just added a line that's like, because right now we say like 10 new chats in this chat room.
Yeah.
Do we want to show? Yeah, but we could show one of the chats, or we could show a summary like Aaron is saying.
I just try to think of like, okay, what is the most perfect version? Like, what is the most cool version? And it's like really just being able to read a summary of most groups I'm a part of would be enough. If I could just show up at my computer and read a summary of happening what's in every WhatsApp, Signal, Slack, Hylo, and so on group that I'm a part of, I would save so much time. But if I have to read every message, I'm not going to read every message.
Mm-hmm. Another idea I just had was we should show open proposals and their current voting status.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything that's timely, people should have in their digest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that's happening this week should show up in the digest multiple times.
Or it should be like this week.
Yeah.
You want to come sit with me?
We also could let people customize what they see in their digests.
That's true.
That would be cool.
Well, but cognitive overhead.
Yeah. Power user feature.
Yeah.
But I mean, we should let them customize it through we need to let them customize the flows of information, and we should get those signals from the interface, like whether they follow a topic or whether they set the notification settings a certain way. Those should also influence what shows up in the digest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, a lot of people complain about the Hylo notifications. And so I want to like understand, like, I think there's a little bit of tension between the model that's where you're getting constant notifications for things that are sort of specific individual one-off notifications versus this like digest model. where most right now, almost everything is coming through the digest, and we can make the digest better, but it's like some people maybe prefer, like for example, like a reminder notification that an event is happening tomorrow, a specific one about that event.
Yeah.
Is that better than it being in the digest where it might get
Yes.
hidden among other things? Do
Yeah.
people want both then? Both the individual one and the digest one? Some people might want one or the other. How do we decide that or know that?
Well, I definitely think we need event reminders.
To me, it's a spectrum, and it's like at one end is everything that happens that I'm in any group I'm a part of. I see everything all the time. It's like full cybernetic connection to the Hylo verse. And then there's a single digest of every group I'm a part of at the other end of the spectrum. And when people are signing up, we can give them 5 options or 4 options or 3 options of like, what notification level do you want?
That's true.
Well, also the added wrinkle there is that, you know, we use Hylo for a bunch of our work. For those like worky groups, I need to know straight away, all the time, every time. For a bunch of other stuff, okay, just tell me what's going on, and I'll catch up on that.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like that we need to make sure it's still group dependent.
So when you're joining the
And
group,
yeah, it's like, well, it's almost like I think we had some idea about like when people create groups that there's a quick like sent a vibe check of what the group's for, and that sets a bunch of the preferences. And one of them would be like, are you going to be doing like, is this kind of a worky group? Like, so the people that are there should be, getting the messages straight off the bat. With maybe another counterpoint that I've also considered, like sometimes you want to have a core group of people that are working in that group context. But the other people who are joining are just kind of like spectators or guests in a way, and that they have different needs. So, like whether we're starting to configure notifications based on what the group is, and then allowing an individual member to change it, or like you can kind of approach it from either side, straight from the user perspective, or have the group in a way influence the default notifications at least.
yeah. Right, when you sign up for a group, there's the suggested notifications, which is different than your default ones, if the group leader has set a suggested notification scheme.
Yeah.
And that would be really cool as a way to guide people's attention to like specific things. Here, everyone receives a notification about projects. Or things that are related to this topic.
Yeah, this is something that I have not ever been asked for. So they're cool ideas, but they might not be highest priority. I would argue that just getting the notifications to go to the right places would be what basically needs to happen.
Just need fewer URLs.
Yeah,
stuff.
For the digest, if there's certain types of content we don't put in the digest, those should be in there. Like proposals should be in there, events should be in there. But I wouldn't complicate it. I personally don't ever use the digest. I don't like it. It's like I don't have time to read a long email about people's posts. But I like getting notifications about individual things. So I'm not maybe the target audience.
Well, you are one of the target audiences. We're trying to like set up the defaults.
But not digests.
Yeah, as a mom, I do
Yeah,
have time to read a long email digest about what's happening on Hylo. let alone 30 of them.
As an owner of 18 chickens, I don't subscribe to the digest. I just get 50 of them every day.
And that's right. That's the other thing that is really terrible right now about how the digest is if a post goes to 10 groups and you're in all 10 groups, you get
You
a
get 10
digest for each
things.
one that shows exactly the
Yeah.
same thing. And I don't quite know how to solve that.
I don't know if it's a huge problem,
Yeah.
though, because how many people are in that many groups and how
How many people
often
read the digest?
how often does something get shared to that many different groups?
Do we have metrics on our digest?
Which
Send
part?
grid?
We
The
looked
short
at
answer is yes.
and I think they
Long
actually
answer is,
right.
what's your question about digest? Well, we should be, like they're tagged in the analytics, but what's the specific question? How often are they opened? I thought the last time we looked at our email opening rates, they were like surprisingly high.
Yeah, that's what Claire just. Yeah,
Does that include all emails, or is that how does
we were looking specifically at the.
digest?
Oh man. And there's so much just from a UI perspective that we could do on the notifications interface.
Yeah,
It's still it's better than it was, but it's still kind of hard to understand what each thing is. Like this is direct messages. I didn't understand that when I was looking at it. And then this is like messages.
right.
This is like anything that happens in the group. So they're more separate than.
And I'm not sure if this has already been discussed, so sorry if this is redundant, but when someone's posting to a topic chat, and this might get changed with the way we're changing chat, but it just shows, like, as an example, new post in governance. It doesn't say what group. So that's a bit confusing. You have to navigate to it and then click out to see what group it's in.
Yeah. Yeah, the routing for chat. I think a lot of my frustration with notifications has been that we didn't really quite stack up the routing to chat. If it makes sense.
Can you say that again?
A lot of the time. Well, a lot of the time, because a chat is a post, there'll be parts of the system that then this treats the chat like a post and it'll put it into a post view, but that strips it of its context. So you're just like, it's like reading a single line of a conversation. Like, oh, that's so great. And you're like, the fuck are they talking about? So yeah, that's something that we've needed to sync up. And I think also, a little bit hovering about because of all the questions about, oh, like, are we actually going to reconfigure chat I'm like we are, but we just don't quite know how. So as part of that process, we need to make sure that the sweet joys of notifications for all of them links properly.
Yeah, not opening the chat in a post view, but in the chat room is important.
Nice.
Oopsies. Can you point it that way?
Um, cool.
Well, I really love you all. I think you're all great folks.
Can you send it a different direction?
Can I show you my spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You-
show us your
You
spread.
love me that much? I just put it in the chat, but I've started trying to copy over all the things to this spreadsheet that we've talked about, and organizing by the top level area, and then sometimes by the like subcategory. the subcategories are a little unclear. In usability, they're clear because we set those up, but some of these ones I'm kind of making up or don't really make that much sense. But yeah, would love help making sure that all the things are in here. At least the things we think might be relevant to this redesign phase. And then I wanted to like talk through how we want to do prioritization. Like previously we had these columns for Aaron, Claire, Krisha, Tibet, Tom, and maybe we could add Yasmin. And we could do that whole process again. We could even delete our old scores and start fresh. And then I think there's like trickiness in like, are we trying to categorize, like prioritize everything against everything else? Or do we try and prioritize within categories? Which is more helpful? I think probably everything against everything else on an equal scale setting, because we want to end up with the like things that we do in order over the next 6 months, and then see how much we can actually get done and what our schedule looks like. Thoughts on all of that?
Yeah.
The other, well, sorry, one other complication is that like some of these things are kind of large, like improved DMs. I put a comment and there's like 6 different sub features here. So there's a question of, do we try and break out, like what size level do we try and break out things into? Some of these are small, like adding new social links. And of course, smaller we get, the more fine-grained and detailed we can get. But it's just more work and more cognitive overhead.
I would try to match it to what is on the doc. So I think DMs is like 1 bullet point. Yeah, I think that's enough granularity. And then the goal would be that on this doc, we would specify exactly what we want to do. And then what we don't want to do would get just like moved down to another section.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, there's a certain amount of like wanting to prioritize within each section. Like, yeah. Like I wouldn't mind a further session where we looked through it again and took it section by section and prioritized collectively within the section. And then, yeah, I don't know. I also like doing it the spreadsheet way, but the spreadsheet way feels like really disconnected from like a larger arc.
How so?
Yeah. The disconnection from the larger arc, I think sometimes the session that we had with Madeline, where we ended up talking about legal structures, one of the things that she said was like seeing a great big vision and seeing all the little different things that we could be doing, but like what's the connection between the two? And that's maybe something I'm also yearning for. Like this is a big pile of features and features that have been generated from discussion and feedback. So they are relevant. And, another way that we might think about like some of these features will bundle with each other across the different categories. So like, even though this feature is in usability and this features in discoverability, or, that they're actually part of a coherent, like, theme of things. Like you could say our theme is make events better. And if I were to prioritize the app because I'm trying to make events better, then I would pick 3 things from that category and 2 from this category and 1 from that category as well. And like part of I think the appeal of that for me is that it generates some coherence about, okay, like that's what we're focusing on now. For the next 3 months, we're just going to make events better. And it's a thing that kind of like aligns decision making about like, hey, I see this little, because we're also, in the midst of all this work, we're constantly having to reprioritize and shift and tweak and sort of focus in different ways as well. And I like making events better as one example feels like a more tangible way of prioritizing or organizing than something a bit more broader like, oh, usability. We're just trying to make things more usable as a button. Yes.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to build on that because we do have objectives and we do have key results. And so I would want to make sure that whatever prioritization we do is like referring back to those. There's more work to do on the key results to make them better, but there's a start here. Like there's a lot for usability, some stuff for mobile, and then a little bit less for fit to purpose, onboarding and discoverability. We can add more, but like these should guide what we prioritize. And there's going to be a lot of usability things because that's the biggest category.
It's also the thing we never get anyone else to pay for.
Yes.
And it's the thing that is preventing us from having a useful, successful app, I think.
Totally. So, I mean, I'd be open to trying like a couple of different options too. Like I'm definitely open to doing it the spreadsheet way as like the fast way. And then maybe we could go back to the doc and look through and make sure that we're not missing anything. Well, before we do this on the spreadsheet, we need to make sure we're not missing things because I don't think this is complete right now.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I think just to say that the reason, I mean, obviously we need to get to the next phase of like, okay, what development are we actually doing? But before that, there's designs also, or alongside that. And so I think it, will be likely really helpful for Aaron to know like what stuff should be included in the designs and what not. Otherwise, there's potentially a lot of extra work that could get done or things that don't get designed that we need for the dev. So just getting clarity on that feels pretty important.
We should prioritize. Like we have a session on the books for Friday. We should do this on Friday. We should do the spreadsheet prioritization, in my opinion. And we could then hash it out and look at it against our key results and what we've talked about. And like, see like how far our, 200K gets us or whatever.
Tom, if we do that on Friday, would you be able to like go into this spreadsheet ahead of time and get some numbers in?
Yeah, I can probably do that ahead of time, but I think it'll be like Saturday 2:30 in the morning. So I won't really be able to meaningfully join.
Well,
Even
what
if
if, yeah, but what if,
Really?
what if Tibet has the spreadsheet prepared and loaded up by end of day here Thursday? So then your Friday, you can go look at it and put your rankings.
Yeah.
Also, do we want to delete all the previous rankings we put in here and start fresh?
I think so. I think we should.
We still have them on another
Copy
tab,
that to
actually.
another sheet if you want to.
Yeah, it's already copied under the core
Okay.
sheet. Yeah. So I will do that. Sweet. I mean, you wanted to do a different version, like within the categories. We could do some work right now. We have 20 minutes left.
I need to go pee.
You are excused.
Yeah. I do. Do you want me to come? We go together?
I don't want this.
Okay.
Well, don't forget.
Where we go?
But that's the way it's Hey, here you go.
I'm gonna come right back.
Then take the triangle.
What else should we do, or should we wrap it up?
Hmm.
I think when I
I'm gonna go ahead and vote for calling it.
Yeah,
Let's call it.
yeah.
This is a resting
Okay.
point.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks.
Y'all are
Okay. Love y'all.
Love you.
hearts and hugs, happiness, health, and
Gives him works again.
pickups.
It really doesn't work anymore. I lost my abilities. My powers disappeared. Try that.
Happens to the best of us. All right. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.